now. So for the second idea this time, it really came from the insight of, I don't know about you, or if this is like a lot of people's experience, but for someone like me, I don't really like how Apple just messes with like a perfectly designed iOS product that I'm more used to. Cause like what's interesting enough is that like I actually enjoy on having like an iOS kind of user experience over time. And then I actually get to learn on like exactly where all the settings are. But when they do a new radical iOS redesign, they kind of switched all the stuff around. So what I really wish that's out there in the market is that with every new radical iOS launch, and then I accidentally hit update on my iOS, I would want someone to actually create an iOS downgrader, like an iOS downgrader.com or something like that, where like it has all the compiled different major iOS designs that were already perfect for me to just like go on my phone and then download to then downgrade my iOS to the way it was that I'm more used to. And the way I see it, this entire website and product will be so useful for like a large demographic, mainly me, but people like me, where it would gain such a loyalty to the audience that actually wants to downgrade their iOS, that for someone that like might just have like a certain affinity to iOS 7 or something like that, or a particular version, for them to like immediately want to use this website. And then you can literally launch this on Reddit, where you can go on r/Apple and then just launch this entire website by creating a text post by saying that I created a iOS downgrader. Visit the website here right now. And then it could all be essentially open source packages of these old iOS systems, but essentially just like give like a seamless experience to make a product that works to actually downgrade your iOS perfectly. And then so that it's not really getting too many glitchy bugs or kind of like major security issues through the old systems. But then I think Apple designers should actually take notes on these iOS versions, because it actually is an interesting indication to the past designs that actually worked. So essentially, if you make this downgrader product, you can actually sell the insights to Apple themselves by providing them the user research on like, hey, here's the major iOS versions that actually got downgraded to. So like there is something here in these user experiences that you guys may have replaced. And maybe you guys should consider on bringing that back, just like how Apple brought back the magnetic charger port thing. So iOS downgraders, stop upgrading things, just like downgrading.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I kind of see myself as a reluctant iOS downloader or upgrader. Like I don't like updating my software for some reason. And I'm trying to think about that. I'm like, why am I so like reluctant to update my stuff? And one is because I don't want to be like having my laptop or my phone closed for like minutes or hours when I'm trying to use it. So I'm like, I would wait for, I'm like, push it to the next day because I'm like, I don't want to do it right now because I'm busy. And also like, I've noticed the newest version of iOS, like on the phone and on my boyfriend's like iPhone. And I'm like, why does it look like it comes from the 2000s? Like it looks really old for some reason, the design. And he doesn't like it either, actually. And so I'm quite happy with my version. I'm like, I don't want to change it. I don't want to upgrade to the next one. I just want to keep it as it is. And so I would understand people's needs to do that and to keep, their iOS of their dream basically running for as long as they want. And what if Apple would create these skins or that you could keep forever, but then you can still update the background, like the back end of your phone. You know what I mean? It's like fix the bugs, they fix all the things that they're not working properly, but on the kind of front end, they still keep the skin that you prefer and you can choose between multiple ones. And so that could be another way that like Apple allows its users to like customize their experience. So then it's not just the newest is the only way that you go for, like the only direction that you go with when you're buying an iPhone. Like, yeah, so I get it. I totally get it.
I feel like sometimes like the user experience features that might be a breakthrough for Apple have already existed 10 years ago in Android. So just like copy Android on like these nostalgic skin packages that Apple can like actually import. But then I do see like beneficial factor of like having a homogenized user experience so that at least like when you're switching to other people's phones or like kind of upgrading to new phones, at least like everything is still similarly there. I guess like this is why I also don't like to buy new phones or like upgrade to new phones. Not so much as to like getting the newest hardware stuff, but then just like having all my data information and photos to not like transfer over and go through the hassle of like waiting through on upgrading to the new ones. And then plus relearning on like where all the stuff are on the new iOS systems. Even though like it's not radically different, but then like the small, minute, random things that just like gets you. Or it's like death by a thousand cuts.
Yeah. And also like I notice on Google search sometimes, let's say you're searching a specific keyword and it switches let's say the kind of tabs that show up at the top, you know, when it shows like images and videos and maps or whatever, like the tabs that are typically there. Let's say you search like, for example, what could be an example? Like snowstorm in Miami, and it was switched to like move the video at the forefront because I'm thinking they might assume that you might watch your video instead of kind of searching through the map or something else. That's the thing that I hate sometimes about like Google search when they switch it up and you're like, wait, like I thought the map was always in the same spot, but then they move it and I'm like, that's the part that really annoys me. And I'd say when it comes to like user experience, there's kind of a trade-off or kind of a balance between standardization and kind of creativity or newness. And so companies have to constantly kind of toggle in between the two of them to make sure that one, when they're standardizing and not just within the Apple ecosystem, but even with like Android phones and other kind of phones, Samsung, etc., Galaxy phones, that things are somehow always similar, because if you switch to another system, you want to feel like you can still navigate properly, right? But then there's also standardization kills creativity or kills creation or kind of thinking about something in a different way. But when it comes to technology, sometimes it's actually really good to just have things like set up exactly the same way as the another one, and maybe just a color change or something like that, because it creates trust in people and helps them navigate things easier and kind of like, you know, they're not going to be in panic or anxious when they're trying to find specific information or do an action or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think like I recently experienced that on like the most micro scale on Google Maps, where when I was just like staring at my Google Maps while going somewhere, I noticed that the blue tint is a little bit different. It's like skewing towards the green instead of like being like fully blue, that UI blue. And then I actually didn't mind that. I actually didn't mind the color change that way. They didn't even mention it, but everything was still laid out in the same places. It was just like a minor color tint change that I didn't. I mean, they might have like also changed out on some of the features on the app, but everything still being like laid out on roughly where they're supposed to be on the major features. I actually didn't mind that like minor change.